Miss Barbara, do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. I hear you. Okay. Earlier,
Now I don't. Now I don't hear.
right, Emily, do you hear us?
Now I can again.
All right, everybody.
Are we live?
Jennifer, I can't hear you now.
Do you hear me, Miss Barbara?
Now I can. Now I can again.
I wanted to announce to listeners that even though most of them know that I come to every 3 Wednesdays as a
Wait. Hold on, Jennifer. Let's do a show pause here. We need to do a production correction here. Emily, this is a Transforming Media Network production, and we're not on Transforming Media Network yet. Please put us on Transform You, and then we can begin.
Kurt, yes, we are. Because I'm recording on Zoom right now.
It says 2 minutes on my end.
Yeah, but right now, Emily, you've got Jennifer and Barbara on StreamYard, and Transform You is not having any involvement with Jennifer and Barbara so far as seeing what we got going here on StreamYard. Yeah, there we go. See that?
I'm just listening out before leading for y'all to tell me that we're ready.
Okay, I think we are. Ready. Right. Or can nobody hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So, welcome back to another episode of the World of Ability. I am Emily, one of the co-hosts, along with Kurt Ruskoff, and I am joined by Jennifer Whitaker and Barbara Weinstein today. So, how is everybody today? I think, Jennifer, you had an announcement you were going to make. Am I correct on that?
What? Doing good, maybe great.
I don't think she can hear me. Kara, can you not hear me?
Mhm.
On StreamYard, anybody? I don't know
I
if
hear
Jennifer
you.
can hear me right now.
We can hear you.
Emily, are you still working on whatever Kurt's saying?
Well, okay, somebody can't hear me.
We don't hear you, Emily.
Mm.
Oh, fudge. Here. Is that better?
Yes, now I hear you and Miss Barbara.
Okay. All right. So, welcome back to another episode of World of Ability.
Wait, cut. We have a production issue again, Emily. We're still not on transport view again.
Well,
This sounds very unusually frustrating, Emily. You have my sympathy.
Me too.
all right. So, welcome back to another episode of World of Ability. I am Emily, one of the co-hosts along with Kara Oskov, joined by Jennifer Whitaker and Barbara Weinstein. Hey, how's everybody? I think, Jennifer, you had a announcement you wanted to make today.
Right, emphasize Jennifer A. Whitaker because there's another author with my name without the A.
Oh,
If it's me, it has an A in the middle.
oh yeah, okay.
Jennifer A. Whitaker. So, Emily, ready for me to take over? I wanted to make the great, wonderful announcement. Tuesday, was it Monday, I believe? That was your birthday. And so the reason I'm here
Oh
is
no.
in honor of you and your birthday, and like I like to express for the whole World of Ability team of co-hosts and etc. how thankful we are for you and how wonderful you are to the team.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So I had a
And
good
then Miss
birthday.
Barbara, would you like to share anything, Emily?
Well, I just want to say thank you. I'm happy to be here. It was a good.
Okay.
It was a good day.
Okay. Sounds like you don't want to talk much, but I was trying to pay you the honor.
Oh, well, thank you. No, I'm more than
Okay.
I'm more than honored.
Okay. Miss Barbara, so I see that your screen says ability now, but I don't believe I've met you. Will you tell us, introduce yourself
Okay,
to our
well.
audience and who you are, what you represent, or what you do?
Sure. Well, my name is Barbara Weinstein, and what I represent is somebody coming all the way from being a Holocaust survivor kid,
Wow.
and running into so many problems through that, because I had a mom that didn't want to be touched, that would wake up screaming at night, a lot of problem where I was like withdrawing from life. I was going into catatonic states. I would get paranoid. I was carrying a lot of that. And I run into a Japanese lady, and she's still has a radiation sickness in her blood from she was there when the atomic bombs went off. So she's, come on, we're going to turn what's poison in our lives into medicine. And we're going to.
So she was in a boot camp as well, or was she involved somewhere else?
She was actually in Japan, like by Hiroshima and Nagasaki when the atomic bombs were going off. And
okay, so she's one of the soldiers.
Yeah, and she got poisoned by that. But in order to come to the United States, she needed to test like negative, instead of positive, which she had first tested for this problem. And she chanted about it, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is ancient Indian and ancient Chinese. And it's an expression of, I got this life. I want to care about this whole thing. And then life, death, let me understand cause and effect, because I want this life to help bring about world peace. And she runs into me and she's saying, in the streets of Washington, D.C., and she's saying, let me teach you this chant, and we're gonna help world peace come about. And then there was Ronnie Smith, who was growing up in D.C., and he was at that time it was crazy to be born Black in D.C., which was in the drug and murder capital of the United States. And she's saying, come on, we're going to take all the stuff we've been through and we're going to see the world become better. And I really fell through a series of, and that was like 54, 55 years ago, and I fell through a series of cause and effect, with this idea, we're never going to quit, no matter how rough things get. We're going to be able to die patting ourselves in the head going, you did good, look at the people you helped, look at how much good you did, seeing our kids more confident and proud and of who they are, and their contributions, and having that sense of confidence in the world. So that's the determination. And now in my 70s, I have a lot of physical challenges going on, from way back. I have a lot of I have overcome.
A lot of us, when we get to that age, no matter what life has thrown at us, that we have different medical or physical, but some kind of handicaps or disabilities at the end of life that's just kind of like our health plummeting as we get to certain points.
And one of the things that I've been praying for, when I started, I prayed, get pizza. I would say, hey, this is easy, this works, cause and effect, and this prayer. But now the prayer is like, I was one of the people fasting, in my high school years, in my college years, and seeing the benefits of that and the benefits of natural health. So it's really interesting that right now I have the challenges that I have. And one of my prayers is I want to show people, I want to show young people that getting old doesn't have to be all painful and crazy, and really doesn't. We're learning about, and I'm not that smart to pick up information and to remember information, because I've met so many great teachers in my life. I've been very fortunate, and I feel if I don't share what I learned, then that's just silly, because this is I've had so much fortune. I wasn't supposed to have kids. I have 3 beautiful children. I have 3 amazing grandchildren. One who's on the way. So send her, any prayers you can. You have a month as you count right away. They have 10 fingers, 10 toes. But sending her like all the prayers.
Make sure they're so good in those ways you can tell.
And I feel like, now it's the biggest challenges that I've ever had. How am I going to turn what I'm going through physically? And here's the world of doctors and big pharmaceuticals. Here's the world of, we're going to be all holistic and create these great communities and eat fruit off the land, and how I integrate it all, in my life, and how I'm able to share. So when I came on this show, I was able to share a beautiful children's story my dad wrote that was about unity and diversity. And
Mute mic.
Miss Barbara, I don't hear you. Emily, do you hear her?
Well, here.
Miss Barbara, did we lose you? I see you, but I don't hear you.
Yeah, I think she's on two different things here. Because I think there's a lot of background noise with you.
It's
Jennifer.
the wind. I'll move
Yeah,
in.
yeah. So I think that was part of it. She's still on Zoom here. I think that was part of the here. Barbara, if you want to unmute on Zoom.
Okay, got it.
There we go.
Yay. You're a genius. You figured it out.
Yes, Miss Barbara, now I hear you again. So we lost
All
you when
right.
you were saying about making the world a better place,
Yeah.
which is pretty far into what we heard. Did we lose her?
What we're talking about.
No, we didn't lose her. We just
Now I'm unmuted.
Barbara.
So Miss Barbara, would you pick up where you were saying about making the world a better place, and then suddenly we could not hear you, so we didn't hear what you had to share, but I'd like to hear it again if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, I don't know what where I was when I was talking about making the world a better place. What did I say right before that?
Well, you told us about your friends that taught you, I believe it's Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
That saying, I forget what was your word for the saying, and
You got to turn poison
you were
into
talking about how you
medicine.
went to DC, and this is when you were wearing black, and it was Bomb City or something like that. You said.
Yeah, she talked about we're going to see that we have the ability to turn
If you don't
poison
remember, you
into
can just go on what
medicine.
you're saying. It's just I was hoping that listeners would hear all.
Can you hear me now? You can't hear me.
Yes, ma'am. I don't see you, but I hear you.
Oh, okay.
I do hear you. I don't.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I have so much to say. It'd take me a long time to say it all because I love putting in all the side stories. They're so interesting and so amazing. But she was saying we have the ability to turn poison into medicine. And what's been poison in our lives, like I was diagnosed as a child that did not have the ability to laugh, and no one ever saw me smile. And right now I get to teach laughter yoga circles. I lead yoga laughter circles. And in Toastmasters, I win numerous speech contests. So that's to me, a real clear explanation of, turning poison into medicine. So it's a good example of that. And Ronnie Smith,
Well, that is true to some extent because, there is some kind of a good, quote, good chemical in fungus and other things that generally are poisonous that are actually, by the pharmaceutical industry you were talking about, are actually used to make some of the medications that different researchers have shown works for whatever uses based on which medicine.
Yeah.
So there is some truth to what you said about using poison.
But this was like for her, she had to choose whether she was going to stay with this man that brought her to the United States. And he said, if you keep talking to people about Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I'm going to leave you and the baby. That's craziness. I don't want to be associated. And I'll just abandon you and the baby. And she went home and she chanted like 5 hours saying, I know what I saw. I know I saw where I went from a positive test to a negative test in time to get to the United States. And even though she didn't speak the language, hardly spoke any at all, and she didn't have any skills here, and she was in the land of the enemy, she decided if he was going to leave, he would have to, because she thought she had something important to share. And now, because of her courage in 193 different countries, there's people, young people around the world who are chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, going, we're going to create world peace, but by becoming happy. What good is world peace if people are miserable? So it's like by one person at a time, becoming happy, becoming strong, being able to use our minds, our hearts, not being afraid of each other, to work together, co-creating all those beautiful ideas.
Or not being endangered by each other.
What's that?
I said, or not being endangered by each other. You know how different political topics can heat up and cause even riots and so forth.
Yes.
So it's not being welcoming of each other, but being safe of each other, as far as to be love and kind, but not to be endangering one another through violence or other things like that too.
I just read the book that got the Pulitzer Peace Award called Caste. That's it's painful reading, but it's the history of the United States, unfortunately,
Right.
and that, a concept of, creating different caste systems so work gets done, but how we have to, work together more and trust each other more. And so it's
and
exciting.
I love how you said about the importance of what you call the yellow people, talking about the Asians. Because I have a very dear friend, and he moved here to the U.S. from Indonesia, but he said his heritage, like his actual ethnic background, is Chinese. And I could imagine, it's hard to imagine a world without a good friend like him, but that's one of the ways that we as a country, and not just as an economy, would be hurting without these different people we care about and who care about us and so forth, by just simply being okay with our difference.
Yes, definitely. And then what I was saying is that if we can see where the other cultures, where they have strengths, maybe that we don't have, and applaud that, like celebrate that, and then see where they might have weaknesses that we don't have, and then have empathy, have real compassion and understanding to help people get through.
I hear you saying we need to team up and balance each other out by, let's say we were different cultures, you and me. I put my strength to work that makes up for your weakness, and you put your strength to work that makes up for my weakness, and together we're like this as a whole.
Yeah, so the world's going to be even more colorful, more fragrant, more delicious, more fun, as we learn to do that, where people are warring against each other, they're actually supposed to be making better babies. They're kind of just missing the mark a little bit. But yes, as we start to, have a sense of humor together, play together, it doesn't have to be all hard and torturous, any of it.
Right. There's no need for torture and honesty, because whether it's a punishment or it's a method of going at war, it's just we don't need harshness or torture or trauma or so many things that are the negatives of the world, when we need to live in some form of respect for one another.
Yes.
And appreciation, like you're saying.
That happipiness really can stand alone. You don't have to know unhappiness to know you're happy. Like people go, well, if you didn't suffer, how would you know you feel good? I don't know. I think that stands by itself. You kind of know you're feeling good when you are.
Well, this is something I've read on a book that's pretty therapeutic to me. It talks about finding satisfaction in life with your weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things it talks about that goes with what you're saying is about finding contentment with where we are, because happiness is a short-term reward. Like when you go shopping for clothes, or that'd be a lot of us women at least, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
happiness, oh, I got this certain thing, but that easily fades and we're wearing the clothes the next day, or so many days later, or so many months later, we're still wearing them. But we don't have that spur of happiness we did when we first bought them.
Yeah.
But how many of us can afford to, for that reason, to go shopping every single day?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, instead of searching for happiness, find contentment with where we are, which
Right.
focuses on the positives of our situation and accepting the negatives as a part of the package. Like life is a package. You can't have the positive without the negatives. Just like you can't have freedom without having responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like think of a manager of a business versus uh, the minimum wage worker at the restaurant. You see what I'm saying?
No, I didn't hear the last thing you said. I didn't understand the last thing you said about, I thought you said something about a restaurant.
I said, it's like, I said, we have to have responsibility with freedom. We can't just have freedom and privileges without having some form of responsibility to hold it. Like the example I gave was a manager of a store. Well, he's got the responsibilities of managing the store, including the people, but he's also got some more looseness about making his decisions and certain other freedoms he has in response to also being more responsible to carry the load of the certain responsibilities. Versus the minimum wage worker that are valuable people in our society. We need them to wait our tables and so forth, but they don't get the freedom to make many decisions. They just have to do whatever the boss says. But as a result of not having the responsibility, they also don't have as much freedom, and like in the making the different choices of what they do with their time that's achieving the shared goal for the business. And that's just reality. We have to have a balance, taking on our responsibilities appropriately and being responsible with them, in addition to our freedoms you're talking about. You see what I'm saying?
But you know what I got to see, because for a while I lived on a kibbutz, and the idea was we got to play musical jobs there. So nobody had to be the garbage man all the time. You know, we would take turns. Who was dealing with cleaning the outhouses even. The only job that we didn't have like that one was working with the children. Because to work with the children, you had to prove that you were really good with the children. You could be trusted around the children, you know, but all the other jobs.
But that then again goes to the idea of responsibility that comes with your freedom. You see what I'm saying?
But the other jobs, yeah, it was like, you know, we didn't have a caste system. You know, we didn't have, well, you have to be the person that can do this hard, disgusting job because the rest of us don't want to. And that's where you are in our caste, you know, where we all like took turns. And I also saw that when I came back to the United States and we were creating communities here. At one time we had a work wheel. It was like the wheel of fortune, but you spun it and whatever it came to, that would be like your job for the next month. And yeah, and it was,
that's a good way to do it. But then again, that wasn't necessarily a freedom, but there was a responsibility. Versus my point of a lot of what we're talking about is like your ideas with respecting one another is when we have freedom, we also have to be responsible, because with freedom comes responsibility. You see what I'm saying?
And this had a lot to do with trust too, because like somebody was, I got to get this kitchen clean. And he puts an apron around me, right? And says, come on, let's go work in the kitchen. Here, you start doing the dishes. And then he pulls out this book of poetry and he says, these are some poems I wrote last night. I want you to listen to them and tell me what you think while you're doing the dishes, you know? And we were talking about, you know, sometimes you just feel like, I don't have the energy right now. I don't have the heart to do this. And someone else says, it's okay. I do have the energy right now. And I saw how my dad
Right.
taught us to keep the kitchen clean by, you go relax and play with the kids. I'll do the hard work, you know? And then after a while, you don't want to hear that anymore. You're like, you go relax. I'll do the hard work now. You know, it's just the nicest way to, you know, to trust each other and help each other. You know, it really
Because
is about love
that's
then.
like a balance. You're being a team and you're rotating who relaxes and gets the break, if you may call it,
Yeah, and
versus who does
believing.
the responsibility. So you have the freedom to choose and rotate. There's still the need of being responsible as far as whoever carries the responsibility load at whatever rotation system, to still that person actually fulfills their obligations, and that's what I mean by being responsible and not just simply having freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was this one this guy's house. We were doing this thing with communities, and they were gonna see who would be the last person to crack, because they were letting dishes pile up in their sink and starting to get like mold growing on them, whatever. And they said, you know, somebody is gonna crack and go, I can't take this anymore. I'm cleaning the dishes. And this other guy's saying, no, we're gonna wait until a woman comes into our environment and she'll do it. And no women were coming in. Finally, they did the dishes, but yeah, I thought that was funny.
Right.
And it was true.
But that's in a sense not funny because that's a stereotype that we as women have the responsibility of the dishes versus what's a modern day topic about women needing women deserving the equal freedom, that we don't have to be the dishwashers or the maids and the secretaries, but that we, upon meeting the same standards as far as our educational requirements and experience and so forth, climbing the ladder, should be able to also hold the responsible positions like different levels of authority, management, executives, or other decision makers. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that kind of goes on the stereotype versus what's this modern day political topic, wherever you stand on it. But the idea about us having equal opportunity as women to have the same freedom to work up to those responsible situations and positions in authority, and not to just because we're women that we get the lower paycheck, or just because we're women we get the lower ranking in authority. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And I was once so touched by, she was this Black young woman who was saying, you know, Barbara, if you have all the passion and you've had the education and you have all the words to communicate and make sense, and I have the ability to know how to get this house clean in like a third of the time that it would take you, I don't mind being in that position, because I feel, you know, we're working together. We're using our skills, and I thought that's one of the most beautiful things I ever heard, you know, from another person, right? For her to want to say
And
that
you're
one,
right.
tell me,
We should
don't
still
feel.
be able to do those certain jobs, but the idea of that being a woman's job is what I was looking at versus our political topic about women have equal freedom and climbing the ladder and making the high salary jobs upon them having the credentials and so forth. That's the same standards as a man, but to have equal freedom to it, you know?
To learn music, to study, yeah, we should all have all of that. Yeah.
That's what I mean. We need to study and have certain degrees based on what's the field and what's our degree need to be in. Or how many degrees do we need? Bachelor's, master's, doctorate, whatever.
Yeah.
But still, that's the whole idea versus you're a woman, you need to do the dishes. Idea that, well, if I'm a woman, I have to be a maid or whatever you call the authority, right? Based on what the position is called at the organization. Versus this idea that being a woman, I shouldn't have to clean dishes. There could be somebody else who doesn't have credentials to do a decision maker job, but wants that position. That could be a male or a different female, or even some minority group, and not necessarily have to be like another idea of our political topics is the idea that even white women have a lead from people of different colors, women or male. You know,
Another funny story about that, when, you know, Women's Lib was happening, and my dad said he got it. You know, if my mom didn't have to do the cooking all the time, because then they were both working at this point in time, and she loved it. She loved having her own money. It made her, and he said, okay, so I'll do the cooking some of the time. And boy, talk about trying to self-sabotage that job that he had just taken on. He decided he was going to make scrambled eggs with fruit inside, and we couldn't get turned brown. We couldn't get the dog to want to eat
Fruit?
it.
I haven't even tried that before. I never heard that.
Yeah, I think that was his way of going, see, I can't cook, you have to do it. And that was funny.
And did you try it?
I think I did, but
Try that recipe?
we gave him a hard time. We did.
I would never fathom scrambled eggs with fruit in it, especially like fresh fruit versus, let's say dried fruit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's funny because the dog didn't want to eat it. She was, yeah. I think that, they say tragedy is universal. Like, we all can understand pain and tragedy together, but humor has to be built,
Right.
by being a family, by being local, and then we build humor. Like brothers and sisters, a lot of times they can laugh about the same stuff they grew up with.
So I want to get back
I
to
teach laughter
about what you bring to the table. What is your trade, or what you'd want listeners to know about you that maybe benefits you in a business aspect or some other way? If listeners, this relatively large audience, is relative though, knew something about you, what is it you'd like them to know?
Well, that I teach laughter yoga, which is so much fun. And I've been a teacher. I've been all kinds of a teacher, mostly with all the disenfranchised. First started working with children who are autistic, Down syndrome, working with homeless women, homeless men, working with people under the umbrella of mental retardation, working with delinquent and some exceptionally bright, young people who somehow got themselves stuck with that title. And so I've been teaching and counseling for a long time, and that I've loved to dance. And for a while I made money doing that.
So based on that, would you say that you're a tutor, or are you a mentor, or what is it that you do for or with these people? Well,
I mean, I was, I became a legal teacher, at Orangebrook Elementary. I was the ESC teacher, exceptional student education. And that's where most of my students were autistic in that class. But I actually ran a school on Hollywood Beach, the Nolan Ocean View private school. And my youngest student there was 4 and my oldest was 23. It was like a little schoolhouse. And, I've had many jobs, various jobs. And one time, I can do a speech I can come and talk about how I lost so many jobs with people telling me, we're not firing you because you were bad. We have to fire you because you're a little too good. And that was when, I'd been trained at doing massage. And then I'm working out of the state Florida mental institution. And when I would see people that were so uptight and I'd want to go and start massaging them, that would horrify my coworkers. Well, now they're going to expect us to touch them too, me like kneeling down beside someone's bed because he was so depressed and didn't want to go outside, to talk to him, to get on his eye level and things like that
Right.
would upset coworkers. When I was working at this boys' reform school as a teacher and a counselor, and the boys were from the ages of 14 to 19, I was let go because they said, when it was a smoke break time, so these kids were being rewarded by being able to smoke a cigarette, right? That was the big reward, like when the ice cream man comes and everyone gets excited and wants to get some. So it was a smoke break time, and this one boy, and I didn't smoke, and I had really long hair. Then we were outside so they could smoke, right? And this kid said, here, Miss Barbara, let me plait your hair back and it won't be so hot for you. And I said, oh, that would be nice. And then that was the next thing. I was told they had to let me go because there was a rape risk in that community. So another time I let go, kind of a similar idea, that I was letting kids get too close to me. Like I was talking, and that was when I was talking about
So,
how men are important in the family structure more than
so if
most
I'm
of us.
understanding, so you help these kids, but are you a tutor or a mentor? Like, what do you do for them? I heard you say what grade and levels you do, like
Mhm.
age and so forth. But
Yeah,
what is
well,
the
I was
service or something that
a
listeners
certified.
would know if they want to call you?
Well, yeah, I was a certified teacher for Broward County and for the Washington D.C. area. You know, I was teaching there. I was teaching in Dade County, and I had my certification, but I didn't. You know, I still would like to build on it. I was a listener at some schools. The best job I ever had, I did as a volunteer. There was no money for it, and it was being the thumb buddy lady. And that's where I would talk to second graders and I'd say, can you put your thumbs up? And can you go, I'm somebody, and I'm somebody special. And I had my little thumb buddy doll who looked like a thumb. And we talk about how even identical twins, we think they look exactly alike. But if you look at the thumbs, the thumbprints, you'll see that even the identical twins aren't exactly alike, that we're all different and we're all special. And that was a beautiful, I had 55 minutes to try to tell these kids everything good I knew about being a person. And one of the things we do, I get some of the kids in the front of the class and I'd say, what's different between them? And you'd always have some kids going, well, she's white and he's black. And I go, you think so? Let's look for white somewhere around the teacher's table. There seems to be a lot of white. Well, there's this kind of white. And then there's this white. And then this is another white. And I was like, all right, let's just say this is white, the whiteboard, right? Okay, gonna get kids to come up here and put their hands against the board. Wow, no one's anywhere near that color. We could do the same thing with black. And saying, do you think that people are just so new on this planet? Because if you look where life started and where people came in, we're just like, if we made it a clock, we're like 2 seconds old, then do you think we don't have the words yet to tell each other what we're seeing? We're just learning how to do that. And we would talk about how good it felt to be healthy. And the beach just smells so good and the sun's coming and the birds are singing and you want to climb that tree and eat the fresh fruit. And how do you know if you're not healthy? And the kids would like this because they go, ooh, ooh, like diarrhea, and everybody would laugh, right? And we'd say all the ways you could tell people aren't healthy. And it was all funny for second graders. And we say, do you know ways to fix the problems, to get healthy again? And second graders right now are really smart and they would know, eating healthy foods and resting and drinking water and exercise. They would know these things. And I'd say, well, here's a health that no one even has talked to second graders about yet. They don't even talk to each other sometimes. Like grownups don't even. Mental health. How good does it feel to be mentally healthy? How do you know if you're not? Is there a connection between mental and physical health? And then what do you do to fix it? And then we let them know that.
Is this association between them?
Oh, yeah. Wait, what? I didn't hear all your words exactly.
Did you know that there is an association between mental and physical health?
Oh, definitely.
They have found a correlation in recent studies.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's a lot of books on it right now. And we would say good mental health. I said, all this money went into this research, people got to study it. And you know what they came up with? Good mental health is your ability to say, I like me and I like the world that I'm in. I have hope for the future. And then we take out our dirty laundry, it'd be a shirt that would say I'm not good looking enough, and it would stick because it would be Velcro. And there'd be another shirt that would say I'm not smart enough. Nobody cares about me. I'm angry all the time. And as we'd make up a clothesline, some kids would be holding a clothesline, and some other kids would be, as we'd say, no, this isn't, if I'm wearing this feeling around like it was part of my clothing, am I in good mental health with this? No. So let's wash it out. How do we wash this out? And we put it on the clothesline. And then everyone would have their magic buckets, and we'd throw everything into it that would make us like not be able to say I like myself, like, oh, I'm not smart enough, I don't talk loud enough, can't get my hair right, whatever, I'm throwing it in the buckets. And then I said magic, because their buckets were imaginary, but I had a real one, and I go magic, and we say our magic words, and then I would pull out the clean clothes that were at the bottom, and these kids, they'd like that it was magic. And we would talk about how Thomas Edison supposedly, 999, or no, it's supposed to be 10,000, 9,999 times that he tried to figure out how to make lights happen. And you know why he did that? Because he loved his mother so much. And when she was dying, he had a doctor say, if I only had light, I could have saved her. Well, that became, he was going to figure out how to create light. And, and when people would say, oh, you're stupid, what are you doing? He'd say, well, I know 9,999 ways it doesn't work, so I must be coming close to being able to find what does work. And now when it was his birthday, we all turned off lights for a while, really honoring him and how intelligent, he got us all to be able to have light. And we talked about like 2 kids are coming into your home, and one man, that kid won the lottery, and they bought the most expensive clothing and the best perfume and got the best beautician to make them look good, and went to the best dentist. They come in and they might look good to you, man. They might smell really good to you. But then a kid comes in who's known you since you guys were really little together, and they know how funny you are. And they know how good you are, and they see you and their face lights up. They're so happy to see you. Like, where do you see the real beauty? Like, how do you measure that kind of beauty? And, we'd work through all, and we talk about diversity, and we talk about how, like, the kids are doing a play, and this one girl, she's really good with art. She's good with the backgrounds and the costume design, but she has trouble learning her part. And this other boy is kind of clumsy with the painting, doing the art, but he's really good with memorizing his lines. And and when she comes up to him and goes, "Ooh, what are you doing? You're not doing that right. Give me that brush." When she was having trouble, he comes up to her, and says, "It's okay. I'm really good at this, and I can help you. I'll help you." And we talk about, how great that was.
And beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And the children loved it. When I would be leaving the class, they would come, running after me with like a little happy face they made, or a flower, to give it to me, because they wanted me to know how much they appreciated what I was teaching. And the teachers loved it too. Even though I'd say, if you have some grown up and they're pointing a finger at you and they have a really angry face, that's something that they haven't quite overcome themselves, because if they did, they could talk to you with humor, with compassion, with patience. They wouldn't have to get that angry.
What you're talking about is why I, as an author with autism, wrote a book called Dealing with Autism. You probably couldn't even tell that I have it, because I express my emotions like most cannot. So I wrote that book and how I overcame it. That was the whole purpose and mission of it. It wasn't just to say how to live with it, kind of dealing with it, but I take that same approach of what you're saying. Until you have actually experienced something and overcome it yourself, you can't really teach others. But that was my method of teaching.
Yeah. I would love to know the name of your book, because I think one of my grandchildren, he's showing autistic affectations right now. And he's 2
Do
and
you
a
have
half.
access to the chat? And I'll share my website in the chat where you can click the link.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll share it with her.
Okay.
Then I'll put my social media. So if you want to hear about my next books to come out, you can follow me on them.
Yes. Mhm. Okay.
How are we doing on time, Emily?
Um,
I passed the time by 9 minutes.
It says we've been going for 51, but it's past 3. Do you want us to keep going?
yeah, for a little bit longer because we didn't get started until.
Okay. So I shared my information, my 4 social medias, and my website in the chat, Miss Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read it out loud. And if you'll share yours, then I can read it out loud for listeners to, in the last 10 minutes, know how to
Oh, please.
follow either you or me based on who they found interesting, or
Yes.
hopefully both of us.
Yes.
If you'll share yours, then I'll go ahead and read mine while you go ahead and chat. Put it in this chat.
Well, I have a book that I published that was a children's story that my father wrote that's so beautiful, called The Alphabet, the Day the Alphabet Was Born. But I don't have, I only was able to publish so many copies. They're not out there yet. There's one in a bookstore in San Francisco. And, I have a number of books that I would love to share. A book, Love of a Lifetime.
Do you have a website where we can direct traffic? That maybe listeners
Not
that want to
yet.
check out.
I'm just starting. Emily was trying to help me with that. I'm just starting to, become marketing savvy.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody, right now you're hearing Miss Barbara, who sounds like is a teacher of many ages, and you're also hearing myself, Jennifer A. Whitaker, an author. While I'm waiting for Barbara to type her social media or however else we can follow her, I'd like to let
I don't
everybody know
really have
my
that. I
website
don't really.
is
I'm just like
Jens Books and More. That's JENNS Books and More.com. And you can follow me at Facebook at Books by Jennifer A. Whitaker. And my last name is spelled Whitaker. If you like Twitter, you can find us at Jens, JENNS, Books, and the letter N, More, or LinkedIn, Books and the word More by Jennifer A. Whitaker, Whitaker, or on Instagram at Jennifer A. Whitaker Books. Miss Barbara, are you still typing your?
I could just, no, I'm not going to type anything right now because I don't have that. I'm not that organized yet, and I want to be. I have to overcome my fear of creating, a website and putting myself more out there. But I can share a brief poem that my dad wrote when he was 18, right before World War II began. And it was, to be in Europe has long been a cherished.
If you'd read a sample, would you share where on Amazon people can find it?
No, it's not out there yet, but I have it memorized in my head. So I can share, by word, I can share. And it went like this. To be in Europe.
A free sample of some of your poems.
It's my dad's. Before World War II, he was an 18-year-old boy. To be in Europe has long been a cherished dream. And ere talk of Europe, there could I be seen, the trip across the ocean, those rolling waves of green. Ah, visions, but how lifelike visions sometimes seem. London with its Big Ben, Paris with its Eiffel. Ah, at last I've seen them, but on my back, a rifle? That's it.
So is
Did
that
it
one of
give you a
your
chill?
poems?
Uh-huh. I used to always get chills when I would hear that. I thought that, was really good because I was all, yay, we're gonna, suppose they gave a war and nobody showed up for it. Nobody would come, Even though when I was working at the Developmental
Sounds like you
Resource
got some
Center.
fears to work over, and you were talking about one of the topics of your whole introduction are fears, like talking about paranoia related to the suffering of the Holocaust and so forth, that all have to do with fears, but they're different extremes.
Mhm.
And it sounds like you've got a battle right there of your own, even though it may not be to the degree to be paranoia.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear. But the idea that we can take what we've already created and use it, like they were doing, some good things in the military with getting people to be able to march in rhythm with each other, that actually can be useful in helping people overcome paranoia, overcome being distracted so easily when you're trying to play
Right.
drumming together, things that are coming out of the military. And I'm sure we can do that. But did that poem touch you? Did you feel it? Did I do it well? Did you get it?
I think it was a great poem. It's just a matter of extending it so it can be like either like my book, I don't know if you've heard of it, called Emotional Roller Coaster Young Adulthood. But that's a collection of poetry. Like it's not just one poem that's long enough to be a book,
So you're
but
gonna
it's
so you're
multiple
gonna use
ones
the
that
rest
are
of
a
the time.
collection. And you
You're
could do
gonna read
something
us
like
some.
that. Use your dad's as your opening, and then write one of your own that just come from your heart. Whatever you feel like you need to say, that's in an artistic, poetry appropriate way, as far as like grammar and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah. So you're gonna share some of your writings with us now?
So what you see on the chat and my social media I read, that's where you can find mine. My website, Jens, JENNS, booksandmore.com is my website where you can find them. And that's why I was reading that. And I put it in the chat for those who may rather look at it than to try to write it down while listening.
But no, I'm just wondering if you'll share like something maybe you have memorized, something that you wrote that's of value.
Oh no, I don't have mine memorized. My book called Emotional Roller Coaster: Young Adulthood was legitimately young adulthood. I wrote it from age 16 to 22, and I published it when I was 23 for the first time. So I've been an author for more than 20 years.
Wow,
But I have other books out, as you know, one being dealing with autism. And my third one right now that's out is called How to Know God is Real. That soon, somewhere in the next couple weeks to month, will be released for the first time ever as an audiobook. And that'll be my first audiobook ever. And I'm going to test the market with that audiobook to see if I should make all my other books into audiobooks as well as the ebook and paper.
So, Emily, we have like another 3 minutes, right? Do you want to share something that we should know about that's coming up? Or that a poem that you like? Or a poem that you memorized?
I don't have a poem memorized, but Kurt and I do have a event coming up. That's the last weekend in July, called Hopestock, and it is a hybrid veteran fundraiser. that's called Hope Stock. That's put on by a veteran nonprofit in Kentucky called Project Die Hard. And the in-person part of it is going to be in McCand, Illinois. And we are going to be doing a like a virtual around the clock Friday and Saturday night. Kind of promoting the event and among other things. So if anybody is interested in being a part of, involved with that somehow,
it's going to be similar to what you did for veterans on February 22nd, 2022. That.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar event. It's an event like that for in the sense of for veterans, yes.
And is it?
It was basically, I wasn't at that event, but it was basically something live like this where we were all on some kind of streaming, right? And it's a discussion.
Well, it was a whole day of activities, trying to get people to be aware of the suicide rate of veterans who've returned home in the United States and how to help stop that from happening, how to help the veterans who've returned. So it was like for collecting money and collecting ideas and letting people know what's already happening.
But is this a podcast, Emily? That's what I was asking, where something like this, where there's us in a discussion?
Partly, but I know that Kirk did something where I think they had a drone, like take up balloons or something into the air, and then whoever could catch the balloon or something coming down that had like a lot of money in it. How did that work, Emily? I didn't get to go that time. But it was a camping thing, I think.
It was a drone dropping balls over a target. But the event isn't a podcast in and of itself. There's gonna be like food, music, entertainment, that kind of thing. But between because the event ends at like 10 or 11 at night, that Friday and Saturday. So we were gonna kind of keep it going, having a virtual thing to going through the night, and part of that could be a podcast.
Okay.
It sounded like
we spent time. I'd like to know and possibly at least look at my schedule to consider attending.
Yes. Just gonna say kind of what time you would be willing to. I think it's gonna be going kind of all weekend, but with the live streaming and that kind of thing, it's just that during the night when the event isn't going on, that we're just keep it going with showing the videos and that kind of thing. We are still looking for any sponsors. So if anybody's interested in being a sponsor, let us know ASAP. So we're hoping to have any more in the next week or so.
Where can a listener call if they want to be a sponsor, or to email? How can they reach if the listeners want to be one?
I will, to verbalize it, contact at projectdiehard.com, or not .com, Project Diehard, contact at projectdiehard.org is where is the email that they could email. I can also put it in the chat. Not sure if Kurt has anything he wants to say about it, but that is coming up. So yeah. But yeah, I think we are just over our hour.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It was such a pleasure meeting you.
oh, yep, she stepped away for a second.
Oh, mhm. Her name is Jennifer? Jessica?
Yes,
Good morning.
yes.
Something starting with a J. It's as silly I am.
But we are here every Saturday, same time, same place, at 3 o'clock Central. I want to thank Marcus Hart and the Transform You Media Network for allowing us to have it on their platform. And for all of the likes, comments, shares on social media. Would encourage everybody to go to our social media. And I want to thank Jennifer and Barbara for being on here today.
Mm-hmm.
And Kurt
Thank
as
you.
well. And so I guess and again, if anybody is interested in being on one of our other podcasts and or being involved with the Hope Stock, just let us know. I guess till next time, stay safe and stay happy.
Thank you. What does it take to be a sponsor?